Welcome friends to the Finvest Learning Knowledge platform. My name is Avinash Gorakshekar and I am a host today for the show. Friends, today we will be discussing an interesting company, from the capital goods space, and we have a very interesting guest today. Our guest's name is Mr. Sanjeev Zarbade. Now, talking about Sanjeev, Sanjeev is a civil engineer having completed his MMS from Mumbai University, and he has over 20 years of experience in the equity research field. Sanjeev has earlier worked as a senior vice president research in Kotak Securities, and currently he is the CIO of an advisory firm called Dream Ladder Capital. Sanjeev has been giving his views on the capital goods sector and the consumer durable sector very actively on various business channels, and he covers various companies in these sectors very actively. Today, Sanjeev will be presenting us a very interesting capital goods company. And without wasting time, I would like to welcome Sanjeev to the show. Sanjeev, welcome to the show, and we'll definitely like to hear what you're going to present today. So, without ado, I think now let Sanjeev take over. Sanjeev, you can now start with your presentation.
Thank you, Avinash, for giving me this opportunity. Friends, kindly stay while I start the screen sharing. Okay, so friends, a very warm welcome to all of you in these difficult times. I'm sure you're taking good care of yourself and following COVID appropriate behavior. Friends, if you look at the Indian economy, there are several challenges, and one of the major challenges that we have is on the fuel security. So we are the third largest consumer of oil, and we all import almost $130 billion of crude oil every year. So in a way, we are transferring savings of $130 billion to foreign locations every year. The second challenge is on the air pollution side. If you look at the top 10 most polluted cities in the country, in the world, in fact, most of them are Indian cities. So I was wondering, is there any company which can address both these issues? And friends, I am happy to say that there is one company which is in the forefront of addressing both these issues. Well, not completely, but definitely to some extent. And so I present to you this company called Praj Industries. So without much ado, we'll run through the presentation. But before that, a standard disclaimer. I am not a SEBI registered investment advisor. This presentation is not a stock recommendation and is only an educational initiative. Please consult your investment advisor for any investment decisions here. Right. So the way our presentation is structured, we'll talk about the business of the company, the manufacturing part, what's so special about the company, the opportunity that is there, the track record of financial performance and valuations, and our outlook on the business and the company. That will be followed by a brief question and answer session with Avinash. So without much ado, I will quickly take you through the presentation. So starting with the background itself. The company has been founded by a technopreneur, Mr. Pramod Chaudhary. The company came out with its IPO in 1994, and the main business of the company at that point of time was solvent extraction and evaporators and other solvent-related capital goods equipment. In subsequent years, the company developed a strong strength in terms of bioeconomy space. And over the years, Mr. Chaudhary has been ranked as one of the key visionaries in the bioeconomy space globally, and has also received several awards, including the George Washington Carver Award. And he is the first Indian recipient in its history to receive this award. So it's a major honor for for Mr. Chaudhary. The CEO is Mr. Shishir Joshipura, who has come from SKF India Limited. Company has 3 plants at Pune, Kandla, SEZ, and Wada. One of the major assets, in fact, the jewel in Praj's crown is its R&D center, and which has been responsible for coming out with major technologies. And this R&D center has several engineers and PhD employees. It is called Praj Matrix. And Praj has over 600 global references from the top names in the chemical and ethanol industry globally. Company is consistently dividend-paying firm, and world over, the company's market share in ethanol business is 6%. So, talking about the revenue mix, friends, the main business of the company is that of setting up ethanol making plants, and this business accounts for 61% of the overall revenues. In addition to that, the company has a manufacturing business which makes pressure vessels for pharma and chemical industries. Also, it has a very thriving industrial water treatment business, and it is also a major player in the breweries business. In fact, 65% market share the company has in breweries in India. The third business is the high purity business, which is housed in a 100% subsidiary. This business accounts for 11% of the revenues, and this is a niche business. The company makes high purity water, which is used in the pharma industry. There are very few players in this segment, and with the growth of the pharma industry, this business is also set to grow. So these are the three major segments that the company has. Also, Praj is a major player in the export market, and almost 34% of its revenues is coming from exports. The key thing in this, friends, is that both in the ethanol as well as breweries and high purity business, the company is a leading player and has cutting edge technology when it goes to the market. So friends, the company has a leadership position. As I said, the leadership position comes from its understanding of feedstocks. It has its own branded technologies, that is CombiFerm and EcoSmart. It has in-house manufacturing of critical equipment. It has experience in executing projects globally. For example, 100% of ethanol plants in Colombia and 60% of plants in Thailand are based on Praj technology. So, since the company is largely a play on ethanol, let's understand how ethanol is produced. So, friends, ethanol, the manufacturing of ethanol is fairly simple. The primary process is that of fermentation. So, molecules of glucose are reacted with microorganisms, which results in separation of breaking these glucose molecules into ethanol and carbon dioxide. So the key question will be in the minds of investors that, so if the process is so simple, what's so special about Praj? So friends, the competency of Praj comes from the fact that it has the ability to handle different feedstocks. So just for example, the molasses coming from a plant in Uttar Pradesh sugar mill or the molasses coming from a Tamil Nadu sugar plant will be totally different, because it will have different acidity in it. It will have different types of bacteria, and so it will require a specific type of microorganism which will be the most suitable for maximization of the production of ethanol. And this is where Praj comes in. It has over the years, its R&D center has been able to come out with the best yeast, which is microorganisms, which will be the most suitable for different feedstocks. And as a result, the company has a very strong hold in the overall ethanol market. And friends, from reading what I have also learned is that Praj gives away its yeast culture free of cost, provided and it comes along with the technology of the company. So any sugar mill who is taking a few ethanol plant from Praj Industries gets the yeast culture free of cost over the life of the plant. So that's a very strong entry barrier that Praj has created, and that is the main crux of the overall presentation that we have, that the company has been able to create this kind of entry barriers through technology. And behind this technology, its R&D center is there, which comes out with the most efficient yeast, and which leads to maximization of the production of ethanol, reduces operating costs, and also reduces the power and water consumption. So that is the main thing here. Also, friends, what I just said is about a very simple process of first generation ethanol, wherein a very simple glucose molecules can be broken into ethanol and carbon dioxide by reacting it with microorganisms like yeast. However, if you want to make ethanol from agricultural waste, in that case, it is not so simple, because the glucose molecule in agricultural waste will be not so easily available for breaking it, because there are several bonds, several layers of lignin, which makes it very complex. And so this is a very complex technology, and very few people, few firms in the world have this kind of technology. So Praj is one of them, and in fact, out of the four plants that are coming up in the second generation ethanol segment in India, I think all four are based on Praj technology. So that is a kind of a vote of confidence that the market has on Praj technology. Also, friends, the other question that we will have is, what about the international competition? So the internationally, there is one company called Vogel Bush, which is kind of a pioneer in the ethanol segment. In fact, in 2004, Praj had also collaborated with Vogel Bush in terms of getting the fuel ethanol production technology into India. Then there are other players as well. For example, Clariant Chemicals is also there. They also have their own technology for making second generation biofuels. So that's on the manufacturing side, and also on the competition side. Moving over to the why we believe that ethanol is the way to go for sugar companies. So if you see, friends, if a sugar company is making sugar, then the kind of revenue that it earns by simply converting cane into sugar is of the order of 378 rupees per ton. However, if the company forward integrates into sugar plus power plus ethanol, then the revenue that it can earn from crushing 1 ton of sugar cane is rupees 532 per ton. So there is a clear case for better economics if the sugar company goes for forward integration into ethanol. Also, if you know, sugar is a very cyclical industry, and having a steady stream of revenues in the form of ethanol can, to some extent, smoothen the overall ups and downs that we have in the sugar industry. So even the financials will be much more stable for sugar. So that is a very strong strong positive in favor of going for ethanol. Now, friends, apart from ethanol, the new emerging area that has come is of bio-CNG, and the government has come out with its program, which is called SATAT. It stands for Sustainable Alternative Towards Affordable Transportation. This is a new growth area for Praj. The government plans 5,000 compressed bio-CNG plants by 2023-24, and the investment potential is of the order of 2 trillion rupees. To kind of give a certainty to the players who want to set up bio CNG plants, the government has also fixed the price of bio CNG at 46 rupees per kg. Oil marketing companies have started to issue letter of intent to private developers to set up bio CNG plants. Praj will provide the technological support for setting up bio CNG. And friends, for India, it might be a new thing to have CNG produced from feedstock like agri-waste or press mud, but in Europe, it's a very successful experiment. In fact, almost 90% of gas consumption in Sweden is coming from compressed biogas, and we can possibly try to replicate this successful formula in India as well. And to its credit, Praj has already received an order from HPCL for setting up a CBG, that is the compressed biogas plant. Now, friends, this entire ethanol and CNG, these are dependent on government policies. And this is the case not just in India, world over. In every country where the ethanol usage has been on the higher side, they have been driven by government mandates. So even in India, we have government policies that are favoring adoption of ethanol. So in India, let's see what are the government policies. So the government has actually, over the last 3 to 4 years, consistently increased the price, that the procurement price of ethanol from 47 rupees in FY18 to now 59.5 rupees per liter. And it has also given different prices for ethanol from different modes of production. That is sugarcane juice, the price is 59.5, B heavy molasses 54, and C heavy molasses at 44 rupees. And the key thing here is that the government has actually advanced the blending target of ethanol to 20% by 2025. Also, one issue that most sugar companies faced was that of getting environment clearance. And now the government has also said that there will be no need for environment clearance for making B heavy molasses based ethanol. Then the government also came out with the financial package for the sugar sector. In this, the government has offered interest subvention of 50% on ethanol projects. And as per this scheme, almost 76 distilleries have received sanction, and the government has given in principle nod to 422 ethanol projects. So what we want to say here is that, friends, the government policies are favorable. The regulatory landscape is positive, and there is a lot of excitement from the sugar companies as well to set up ethanol plants, and this can be easily seen from the number of distilleries that have asked for government sanction, and also who have got the in principle nod from the government. Now we've spoken about the ethanol, its positives, and the other things. But the key question, friends, is that what is the opportunity size? So let's look at it. The current ethanol capacity is 4.27 billion liters versus 2.22 billion liters in FY16. So friends, ethanol is used in a couple of applications. So one is that apart from the fuel applications, ethanol is also used for as an industrial chemical and also for breweries. This requirement of non-fuel application is of the order of 1.5 billion liters. Now, for meeting the 20% blending target by FY23, India will require 9 billion liters of ethanol capacity. And this, in addition to the capacity needed for non-fuel application, that is of 1.5 billion liters, the overall capacity that will be required will be in the range of 10 to 11 billion liters. So that translates into an opportunity size of 140 billion rupees, which is 14,000 crore. And to put it in perspective, 140 billion rupees opportunity is like 29 times Praj's current domestic ethanol revenues. So the room for upside is quite large, purely from the 1G side of opportunity. If the 2G thing clicks, then that can be another opportunity which will go for several years in the future. So, friends, let's look at the global scenario. The global ethanol production is 36 times of India. So, friends, if you look at India's production, we as a country are among the top ones in several commodities. For example, we are the third largest producer of steel. But if you look at the ethanol, we are nowhere there in the picture. The global ethanol production is 36 times that of India. So again, a huge room for upside in India, and the largest producer of ethanol is in fact United States, and United States has been able to kind of replace 0.5 million liters of crude oil import simply by going for ethanol. And the ethanol blending has been a successful formula in US. Apart from that, Brazil has gone to almost 54% kind of a blending rate. Again, ethanol has been a successful thing in Brazil. So, friends, ethanol is it has been used. The thing has been adopted worldwide, and with the help of various mandates. So we feel that in India also the time has come for higher blending in India as well. Now let's look at the global scenario in terms of various mandates. As I said, the ethanol has its applications, has its benefits in terms of fuel security, as well as in terms of reduction of greenhouse gases, that is carbon dioxide. And the concerns on climate change and emission regulation standards are driving mandates. So while in countries like Brazil, it is the fuel security which is driving mandate, but in Europe, it is the climate change which is the major driving factor for higher adoption of ethanol. And UK is considering 10% ethanol mandate. And if you look at the various countries or states, Canada has said that it plans to reduce greenhouse gases emissions by 30% by 2030, and European Union plans to reduce greenhouse gases emissions by 40%, and also replace 14% of transport fuels with biofuels. So the movement towards ethanol is worldwide, led by fuel security and also for a clean environment. Now we've spoken about the business, the manufacturing process, the global scenario, competition, and various mandates. Let's look at Praj per se. And here is the chart of Praj, long-term chart of the stock price. Friends, you will see that from 2006 to 2008, the stock had been re-rated. And again, that was on the back of the opportunity which was expected from ethanol side. However, post the financial crisis in 2008, what happened was that there was complete lull in fresh investments in the global ethanol market, and also in India, there was not much happening on the ethanol side. So while at that point of time we had a target of 5% blending, but the policies were not in place. So, for example, there was uncertainty on ethanol pricing. The government was not very sure about this thing. There were taxes on interstate movement of ethanol, and so this entire ethanol blending thing just could not take off in India post the 2008 period. And so what happened was that Praj was had become almost completely dependent on the ethanol side, and the company realized this, and so they also tried to seed new businesses. They acquired a company called Neela Infrastructure, and which was renamed as Praj High Purity Systems. So we've spoken about the high purity business earlier. So that was one thing. However, what happened was that during the period from 2008 to 2020, the company's financials didn't go anywhere. They were kind of a stagnant, and so the stock price has also not done anything. And now, friends, you will see that the stock has actually breached the 300 rupees mark after a very long period. So it's a kind of a several years the company the company's numbers were not coming, and after several false starts, now things have started to fall in place. So if you look at the past financials of the company, revenues, as we said, have remained largely stagnant in the past 11 years. There was one large order that the company received in 2015, which again became was a non-starter. So that was another setback for the company. Operating profit margins, which were at 11, which were at 14% by in FY09, continued to trend down and were at 7% in FY20. The main reason being that the revenue, the company was operating at much lower than its revenue potential, and it had high fixed costs, primarily employee, which was weighing on the margins. However, revenues can be scaled up now without increasing manpower. That is a positive. And the other good thing was that, friends, the company has been a zero debt company, and it has allocated its capital quite prudently, and now it is having almost a cash surplus of 4 billion rupees. So what has changed over the last 1 year? The company has received large order inflows, and now the order book is at a multi-year high at 1,665 crore. The big success was that in bagging large order from IOC in non-ethanol segment. Order inquiries are strong in ethanol segment. Big success in winning the CBG order from HPCL. Also, the company is setting up India's largest syrup-based ethanol capacity in Karnataka. And also large sugar manufacturers are going for higher size of distilleries, which is again a positive for Praj. And based on the strong order book and order inflows, the earnings outlook for the next 2 years is very strong. In fact, one of the strongest in the overall capital goods in universe. So far as the performance in the fourth quarter is concerned, revenues were at 5.7 billion as compared to 2.9 billion in the corresponding quarter of the previous year. Profit after tax was at 520 million versus 249 million on a year-on-year basis. So overall, a very strong performance in the fourth quarter as well. And just look at the order intake. Order intake has increased from 2.2 billion rupees year-on-year to 6.5 billion, almost a 3x jump in order intake. Another positive development was that the ethanol blending in India, which had actually struggled struggled at around 2%, 2.5% for several years, is now 7.4%, which is the highest ever on an all India basis. So things are happening positively, and order inquiries are strong. External environment, as I said, is also quite positive. So let's look at the earnings outlook. We believe that the earnings can grow at a CAGR of 87% over the next 2 years, that is FY21 to FY23. The business model is asset light. Working capital intensity is expected to reduce to 37 days. Also, since the capex needs are very low, we believe that the free cash flow generation will be strong, and over the next 2 years, we expect 270 crore of free cash to be generated. And the key re-rating trigger, friends, is the return on capital employed, which we expect to grow from 11% in FY21 to 28% in FY23. And by FY23, we expect the net cash to be in the range of 450 crores. So far as the valuations is concerned, the stock has been re-rated in the past 6 months as order inflows started coming and the order book visibility continued to increase. So despite the decent rally, we believe that valuations compares favorably with peers. If you look at the valuation of Thermax, it is trading at 32p, and the return on equity is also low at 14.5%, while Praj is trading at 21, 22 times and has a higher return on equity. So we believe that there is a further room for upside in the valuations of the stock. So in conclusion, we believe that Praj is a quality play on the bioeconomy space. We think Praj should be looked at as a technology company in the bioeconomy space, and valuations should reflect that. Also, friends, with more and more fund managers preferring to play the ESG companies, that is the environment, sustainability, and governance plays, Praj fits in very well in this segment. And so from that point of view also, it could be a favored choice for fund managers. Company is promoted by Mr. Chaudhary, who is a globally recognized visionary in the bioeconomy space. And thanks to government policies, the outlook for biofuel has improved vastly. Order intake will be driven by first 1G and 2G ethanol. Bio-CNG would be an added kicker. Strong order book to drive revenues, leading to margin gains, and finally superior earnings growth. Also, the company is working on several bioproducts like renewable chemicals and materials. This is a $65 billion global industry. So, all in all, these are the key factors that we believe is in favor of Praj Industries. At the same time, there are a couple of risks. So, as the biggest risk, friends, is that as we spoke earlier, that ethanol has been driven by government mandates. So if there is any change in the government policies or a change in government focus, that could be a setback for the ethanol industry. But our counter to that is that ethanol should not just be looked at as a way to reduce fuel imports. The bigger question is that of a environmentally better fuel, and that is where ethanol scores over the petrol and the other fuel. There might be some changes that engines may be required to make at their end, so that higher amount of ethanol could be blended with the petrol. But that can be done. And the other risk is in the near term could be higher commodity prices. So I think, friends, I will stop here, and that's the end of my presentation. And thank you so much for being a patient listener. And I will hand over the stage to Avinash. So over to you, Avinash.
Yeah, Sanjeev, I think thank you very much for this very well-defined kind of presentation on Praj Industries. Sanjeev, I would have some few questions, after this presentation, because Praj definitely represents a very interesting opportunity in the biochemical space. Now, tell me one thing: what is the total opportunity size? If one investor were to look at the next 2 to 3 years, then what could be the opportunity size according to you, for ethanol in general for the next 2 to 3 years? And in general, how will, Praj benefit from all this?
So the opportunity size, there are three areas of opportunities for Praj. The first is that of the first generation ethanol. That we said that it's a 14,000 crore kind of opportunity if India is going for the 20% blending target. The second opportunity is in second generation ethanol. So Praj is already building around 3 to 4 plants for various oil marketing companies. If this clicks, then more plants could be planned, and that could be a further opportunity for Praj. And third opportunity is in the bio CNG, where it is still early stage, but the potential is very large. So as we said that the overall investment potential is of the order of 2 trillion rupees. So these are the three opportunity sizes. Uh, the immediate opportunity is in the 1G ethanol, which is the 14,000 crore opportunity that we believe.
Sanjeev, one more thing which I wanted to ask you is that you said in your presentation that Praj enjoys a asset light model. So going forward, to deliver this big opportunity in ethanol, what would be the kind of normal capex one could expect over the next 2 to 3 years? Because obviously they would require to add on some capacity to take care of this incremental demand. So any idea about what could be the incremental capex, which would have to be spent by the company?
Yes, so the business is not very capex heavy, and so my sense is that the overall capex requirements will be in the range of 40 to 50 crore on an annual basis, which is quite nominal and can be taken care of by the company's annual cash flows, because the business itself is not very asset heavy as such. So they don't really need to set up manufacturing plants or expand manufacturing capacity. That's the thing. I don't foresee any significant requirement on the capex side.
Okay. Another thing which I wanted to know is that you mentioned that government incentives, are going to be a very important role, in the future growth map for ethanol sector as well as Praj. So, how sustainable is this? Like, the governments may change, political parties may change, but going forward, do you think that this positive ethanol policy which we have seen now, will it be continued in future also? Because this is definitely something which is little unpredictable. So, your thoughts on this?
Yes, Avinash. Government policy is a risk, but uh, as I said, India has one of the top cities, top polluted cities in the world, and so there is a urgent need to reduce air pollution, and so I think any government that will come, they cannot actually ignore this kind of issue, because pollution is actually impacting the lives of residents in those polluted cities. So that could be a health hazard in the future. So I think that ethanol should not be purely looked at from a fuel security point of view. The larger need is that of being environmentally conscious, and that is where ethanol can play its part. And so any government which will be there, they cannot ignore, and the ethanol will be there in the future. That's what I believe.
Fine, Sanjeev. I think one question which again is little important from the kind of perspective you have spoken is that how important is execution capability? Because having a very large order book is one thing, but as far as Praj Industries is concerned, what is your assessment about the execution capability? Will you confidently say that execution capability can be improved even from these levels? Because this is very important if you want to actually evaluate a stock like Praj. So your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so Avinash, actually, India has experience of executing plants as far as in Colombia, or in Thailand, or in Europe, or in US. So it has execution experience geographies. So I don't see any issue in terms of execution challenges. In India, definitely it has a strength because it knows the various geography and it has the labor available. But as I said, it has experience in other geographies also. So I don't see that as a challenge. But definitely, if this kind of lockdowns persist, then there could be some hiccups in terms of execution delays. But these are part and parcel of all business. Other than that, I don't see any major challenges.
Fine, Sanjeev. One last question to you now is basically, we have seen a very dramatic and a very sharp rise in the price of Praj Industry stock. Now, considering the monopolistic nature of this business, like, there are not many players like Praj which are there in the market. What is your assessment whether such monopolistic companies, like Praj, would we see P multiples getting further re-rated? Maybe, in case of some other companies like IEX or MCX, where we have seen that, market rewards monopolistic companies with very high valuations. So can this be another case like this for Praj also, considering that it is a monopolistic player? So your thoughts on this?
Yes, it's a pertinent question. I believe that the company is currently trading at between 21 to 24 times FY23 earnings, and my sense is that it can probably trade up to 30 times forward FY23 earnings, which will be very much in line with that of Thermax. I finally, it's a B2B company. It doesn't have a brand. So I don't see it getting valuations which other FMCG companies or other, platform companies get. So it will be in this range, and sustenance of the valuations will depend upon the flow of order intake and other triggers, like I said, about if the bio CNG orders start flowing in, then the opportunity size will be opened up for the company. So again, that could be another re-rating kind of a trigger for the company. But I think the company can trade up to 30 times. Beyond that, it depends upon other triggers which can open up new opportunity, and we can probably look at that later on. But I am more looking at it from an earnings growth perspective. If the order intake continues to sustain over the next 3 years, then we will have a 4-5 years of good earnings growth. And so even with the current valuations, investors can look at good returns in the future.
Okay. I think Sanjeev, thank you very much for such a detailed presentation and a very informative question answer session. Thank you very much for your time, and we'll definitely like that you share this platform with us in future also. Thank you very much, friends. Before we close, I would request all of you to please use the Finvish app regularly. This Finvish app is available on the Google Play. It is a very useful app and many features like corporate news, portfolio restructuring, question answers, which normally retail investors don't get answers. All these are answered on the Finvish app. So please download the app and spread the word with your friends also. And with this, friends, we'll finish the session here. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sanjeev, once again, and wish you all the best in your career ahead. Thank you.